situation was very unique as far as personal belongings from the seller still being in the house when it was time for closing. And let me tell you what happened. So we were set to close at 3 p.m., I believe, on our new house because we closed on the house that we sold at 11 a.m. that morning. We were moving from Springfield down to Shelman Bluff. Now, we packed up and moved in a hurricane. No joke. Through the hurricane, we were packing our crap, getting it out because that was what our contract said, and we stuck to our contract for the sale of our house. Well, we came down here and realized his stuff's still here. Thousands and thousands of dollars still here. Well, the contract stated that all of his personal belongings would be out and that he would have to have them out within that 45 days. And he didn't. He did not come get that stuff in 45 days while we were under contract. So we show up and we call the realtor and we're like, hey, he needs to have this stuff out today before we go to closing. Well, we went round and round and round and we did not have to. We could have held up closing. We did not have to give him 24 hours, but we did. So the problem with us was that we had rented a pod and I needed to get my stuff out of the pod and use the garage space, which is where all of his stuff was, so that we didn't have to rent the pod for longer. So we were in a bind, but we gave him 24 hours. So if he did not come within that 24 hours to get all of his belongings, he would have had no access to them, and we would have had every right to tell him, get off the property if we had closed on that house and these things had not been done. Now, he literally came in at the last minute within that 24 hours to get all of his stuff. And honestly, it's frustrating because we were nice enough to allow him that time, even though he had 24 hours extra of the 45 days that we had already given him. And this was a rental house for him, or like a vacation house. So he didn't even have to move anything other than what was in the garage and his boat and his golf cart. But at the end of the day, if we wanted to be, I guess, sticklers for the contract, we could have told him, too bad, you've already signed. Now we're signing, because he was a mail away, so he did not have to come in and sign. He had already signed. We could have signed and not said a word, and then he would have had no access to thousands of dollars worth of his belongings. So please read your contracts. Agents, please make sure your clients understand their contracts. And if you are buying a house, do not close until at least it has been sorted out. Even if it means that there's an amendment being drawn up, something. Do not close on that property until all of these things have been sorted out, because you could get stuck with someone squatting in the house. You could get stuck with them trying to come and go off of what is now your property. It can become a huge, huge mess, and I don't want that happening to anybody. And if you're a seller, please be respectful. If you need extra time, if there is something going on, there needs to be a conversation. You need to respect the person that is paying you all this money for this house, because it is not respectful for you to just assume it's okay. It is incredibly disrespectful to just assume that somebody's in the same position as you. We were not. He assumed that it was okay, it was no big deal. He could just get it when he got it after we closed on this house. This is our primary residence. Regardless of the fact that it is now our property and he wouldn't have had access to it, it didn't even cross his mind to think about the fact that this is our primary residence now. This was not a second home that we could just make something work. This was where we were going to be living, and we needed his crap out because we needed to put ours in. We didn't have the space for it anywhere else, and I was paying more money to keep a pod that I didn't have to had he had his stuff out in time. So be respectful of your buyers and be respectful sellers. Clear across the board, make it work for everybody, and just make sure that that level of respect is there and have those conversations. It will save a lot of time and a lot of headache, and it will save a lot of deals if you would just have respect for both parties.